Hello friends, happy Tuesday! I want to introduce you to my little fur babies. This is Abaddon. She's named after the angel of the abyss in the book of Revelation, for she is a black kitten. She's 8 months old. Are you 8 months old? Yeah, she's almost 9 months old. And she's our little Christmas baby that my husband and I got last December. She used to fit in a stocking and now she does not. And then this one is Raphael. He is our official therapy cat. He is 9 years old as of like a week ago, and he is absolutely just like the most ridiculously great cat. I mean, so is Abaddon. Honestly, both our cats are the most ridiculously great cats. I think a lot of pets have this in common. But seriously, Raphael is great. He's very patient with me. He walks on a leash. He's gone on long road trips with me. He's been homeless with me. And now he gets to be part of a little family with Abaddon and my husband and me. So we've been through a lot together. These two are wonderful. I just wanted to share that with you. I wanted to hopefully lighten up your days a little bit because cats are good. Also, they have been basically my constant companions ever since campus closed down and we moved everything online and I've been stuck at home. So my husband actually was working from home for a while. I got an upper respiratory bug. I don't know if it was the dreaded virus or not. It was fairly mild, but it did come with some breathing difficulties and stuff like that. So I figured just to be on the safe side, stay home, stay away from everyone, keep my husband home and away from everyone. So he worked online and we were in the same place for a while, but now as you can see, his desk is vacant and I am alone with the cats. Which is not something that I'm very good at. I've had enough experience in the past with social isolation to know that I really need to be around people for the sake of my mental health, and I knew going into this time period that it was going to be very difficult. And now it's been a little over a month, and I've been very, very careful about guarding my mental health, doing things like being out in the sun and getting creative and doing art projects like making these ear cuffs out of 24 gauge wire that I picked up at a craft store a couple months ago, and keeping in touch with people, lots of video conferences, lots of phone calls. Since I've been healthy, a couple of social distance hikes with friends of mine, keeping 6 feet apart but still getting to hang out and be around each other. And generally just eating well and keeping a routine and sleeping well and all of that. I've been working really hard at being healthy, and yet, like many of you, I'm finding myself in a time of lack, where I have a lot of amazing things provided to me, but I'm also missing things that I need in order to be a fully healthy and happy and productive human being. And if we're honest, regardless of what your circumstances are now, and regardless of the fact that as we as a society have been sort of feeling this time of lack much more strongly than maybe in times previous, because we're all sort of in the same situation together, which is kind of amazing to think about worldwide. We've all been kind of going through the same thing, even though it's affecting each of us differently. Bringing it back, this is not the first time we've experienced lack in our lives. I think if we're honest, we always have lack in our lives. We're always missing something. And the way that we Christians look at that, whether we're going through broken relationships, or whether we're going through financial difficulties, or struggling with physical health or mental health, or any number of other ways in which we can be suffering in this world, in which we can be lacking the things that we need, we look at this just as illustration of the fact that our souls cry out for something that we don't fully have this side of life. The side of heaven, I should say. We were created initially, humanity was created initially into this perfect, beautiful world where we lived in harmony with each other and with nature and with God. And that world was broken when we decided to start going our own way, we broke our relationships with our world, with each other, with God. We went from a time period where everything was provided for us and we lived a full and good life where there were still things like work, but work was good, and there were still other people, but our relationships with each other were good. We went from all of this bounty and luxury to a place in our lives, in our world, where things were broken. There was disease, war, murder, silence from God. And this is the state that we live in now. No matter how good we seem to be able to make things for ourselves, we can never build that back into our lives. The only way that we can find peace and joy and fullness is by getting out of the idea of creating it for ourselves in this life and getting into the idea of looking toward eternity with God. So last time I made a video, which was on March 17th, I quoted Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 through 8, and I'm actually going to go back to it. Any of you who've been running in Christian circles and attending church online and stuff like that, you've probably been hearing this passage a lot. I know I have, but I'm gonna look at it again with you guys, because what I didn't talk about in my last video is the fact that Paul, when he's writing the letter that we're reading from in this section of the Bible, he's actually writing it from prison, which is not like prison in the United States, which is rough enough. Prison in ancient Rome was not something that you want to experience. And so picture yourself in a place actually not utterly unlike what you're experiencing today, just sort of times 10, where you're stuck and your needs are not being provided for the way that you need, and you're in isolation from your loved ones and you can't go anywhere and you don't know when this will end. And then think about what Paul is saying here. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Jesus Christ. So regardless of the fact that we're living in a time period where we don't have all of our needs met, where we're stuck and we don't know when this will end, regardless of the suffering that we're going through in this life, which will always come around in some form or another, Paul is saying rejoice. He's saying be gentle with each other. So care for one another. Don't let fights break out. Don't get cruel or let your anxiety surface in a way that tears one another down, but be gentle with one another. Look to God with prayer and thanksgiving. Just talk to him. Thank him for the things that you do have. I have a roof over my head, electricity, clean running water. I'm provided for. I'm grateful. I have those 2 fluffy cats. I'm really grateful. And with prayer, so asking God for the things that we need, asking God for the things that are good, asking God for the things that we feel like he's placed in our heart to ask him for, and just spending time with him, letting him shape us, letting him shape our perspective on the situations that we're in. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Jesus Christ. You don't need to have everything to have peace. Peace is not dependent on our present and temporal circumstances. Peace comes from knowing that God loves you and that he invites you into a life that is eternal and that is good beyond anything else that you can receive. That's what I want to leave you with. The cats have wandered off, or I would bring them to say goodbye. But as it is, I hope you guys are well. I hope you're hanging in there. Please reach out if you need someone to talk to. And blessings until next time. Bye.